I am pleased to announce the publication of my audiobook, Two Kinds of Insanity. This volume contains lively yet penetrating examinations of issues of crucial importance, including the nature of rationality, the different ways in which rationality can be corrupted, the nature of persistence in time, the nature of our knowledge of the future, and finally the nature of purely conceptual truths and our knowledge thereof. Please enjoy the following promotional excerpt from the audiobook itself, available at audible.com. Two Kinds of Insanity. When the viewpoint embodied in a psychological disturbance is one's own viewpoint, that disturbance is ego-syntonic, meaning that it is in alignment with, not opposed to, the ego of the subject whom it afflicts. An example is the schizophrenic's belief that the president is personally monitoring her phone conversations. When the viewpoint embodied in such a disturbance is alien to that of the afflicted party's ego, it is ego-dystonic, meaning that it is opposed to, and not in alignment with, said ego. An example is the obsessive-compulsive person's compulsion to engage in ritualistic behaviors that he knows to be irrational. The obsessive-compulsive does not judge his obsessions and subsequent compulsions to be irrational. He experiences them as being irrational. The schizophrenic's inability to distinguish between fantasy and reality has been damaged. The obsessive-compulsive's ability to make this distinction has not been damaged, but his ability to do the things that he knows to be demanded by reality has been damaged. It is his will, not his judgment, that has been damaged. What the schizophrenic and the obsessive-compulsive have in common is a fundamentally infantile outlook. Each has retained the narcissism of the infant, even though each has the intellect of an adult. The schizophrenic's ego is also the ego of this still very much alive inner infant. As a result, his ego has two distinct and incompatible outlooks, and it therefore has no coherent way of processing information. The obsessive-compulsive's ego is not identical with that of the infant within him, and this is why his ego, unlike that of the schizophrenic, has no trouble distinguishing between fantasy and reality. But because there are two egos within the obsessive-compulsive, both competing for the reins of agency, the obsessive-compulsive cannot act rationally, even though he can think rationally. In general, an ego-syntonic illness is an inability to think rationally, and an ego-dystonic illness is an inability to act rationally.